Are you struggling to decide between the RTX 4070 and 4070 Super for flawless 1440p gaming experience? Spend a little more for the Super, or is the base 4070 enough? Let's find out. For this experience, I'm using my Ryzen 5 7600X PC build paired with the 1440p 165Hz Gigabyte M27Q monitor, which I think are the perfect match for this budget-friendly setup. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, then you can buy them on Amazon at the links in the description below. There is no need to spend that much money on Windows 11 Pro when you can get it for much cheaper at cdkeyoffer.com. Additionally, use discount code IVADIM to get 25% off and bring the total price down to $22. Furthermore, you can find Windows 10 Pro as well as Microsoft Office at much cheaper prices as well. Get yours now at the link in the description below, and don't forget to use discount code IVADIM to get 25% off. Let's start with the 4070 Super in one of the most demanding games of 2024, Hellblade 2. Let's begin by checking what this graphics card can offer at native 1440p resolution. That means that we are using DLAA and the graphics preset is set to high, which is the highest preset. This is not looking so good. This isn't even the worst case scenario in this game, and we are already dropping below 50 FPS in this scene. It is unbelievable to see that even the 4070 Super has to rely on technologies such as resolution upscaling and frame generation to run games at 1440p. Of course, that is if you want that consistent 60 plus FPS experience. In some other scenes, we are getting 60 plus FPS as is at native resolution, but I'm going to show you the worst case scenario in just a moment. This is what you'll have to deal with if you want to play this game at native 1440p with graphics maxed out. That is a 30 FPS experience. This game has software-based ray tracing, so that is quite expensive on the GPU to run. High graphics preset and medium graphics preset look very similar in this game, so let's have a look if we can get to that proper 60 FPS experience by simply turning down some graphics settings. And it is really close. 53 to 55 FPS in the worst case scenes. That is what I don't mind seeing in the game. Because in other scenes you'll see above 60 FPS. But if you want to play the game on the highest graphics preset, then you will have to use DLSS, frame generation, as well as resolution upscaling. DLSS quality looks very nice on a 1440p 27-inch screen, but anything lower than that is not to my liking exactly, so I am not going to use balanced, I'll just stick to quality. The game still looks great, but look at the FPS. Now we are getting 80 FPS in less demanding scenes. Sometimes it gets close to 90. And then once we get close to the worst case scenario, we still get close to 60 FPS. So this is the way to go, I think. It is okay to have something like 50 to 53 FPS because this is a slow-paced game. However, in other games, it may not suit you. So the only option left then is to use frame generation. Let's enable that. Just take a look at this beautiful performance. Frame generation in combination with resolution upscaling is doing a brilliant job, keeping the image nice and fluid. This is a very pleasant experience. I like playing this game like so. The controls feel nice as well, so if you have a look at the latency, it's in the 60s. That is plenty responsive. We still have the 4070 Super in the PC, and now we'll have a look at Ghost of Tsushima. In terms of performance, this game represents an average AAA title in 2024. I'm using the highest graphics preset, which is very high. Field of view is increased to the maximum. The only reason it says custom at the top here is because I've disabled depth of field because it is absolutely horrible in this game. And for now, we are running it at native 1440p, so no upscaling, no frame generation. And now you can see that not every game will require you to have an RTX 4080 or above to play the latest games at 1440p. This is what you should expect from most games. Hellblade 2, as well as Alan Wake 2, are a bit of outliers. They do need very powerful hardware to run them, but simpler games, no problems. You can have a great time with well above 60 FPS, nice and smooth gameplay. Even 1% lows are good. Take a look at that. 60 FPS on 1% lows. That's brilliant. But I still want to see what is possible if we use DLSS set to quality. And that gets us close to 100 FPS. Very nice. However, it is not quite enough to get to that next level, which is 120 FPS. In pursuit of that 120 FPS experience, let's try DLSS frame generation. And there you go, 140 plus FPS, even 150. This is nice. Even back at the temple, where there's a lot of NPCs, we still get well above 120 FPS. This is a beautiful game with a fast-paced combat, so I very much appreciate the fact that we can get that 120 FPS experience. Alan Wake 2 is another game that makes any GPU sweat, even the 4090. What interests me in this game is that it has hardware-based ray tracing. I wonder if we'll be able to use at least medium ray tracing preset. And the graphics preset is set to high. DLSS frame generation and resolution upscaling are turned off at the moment, but we'll take a look at those in just a minute. This isn't even the most graphically demanding scene, and we are already at around 40 FPS. So if we get close to some kind of foliage, trees, forest, the FPS will drop even further. Take a look at this. This is below 30 FPS experience. It's not worth lowering ray tracing preset because low looks pretty bad. Might as well just turn it off if you're going to do that. Medium looks nice, high is the best looking for obvious reasons. But let's keep it on medium and try to get to a playable experience using DLSS frame generation and DLSS resolution upscaling quality mode. Basically, we're upscaling the image from 960p to 1440p. And this is actually quite good. Take a look at this, close to 100 FPS. In this area right here, and on this 165 Hz monitor, the image looks so good, so fluid. PC latency is in the 60s, 66, 69, nice. The controls feel nice and responsive. And even in the worst case scenarios, when you enter the forest, the FPS stays very close to 60. That is good. That is acceptable and enjoyable. However, the PC latency is much higher in this location. It's close to 100 milliseconds, and I can feel it when I move the mouse. It feels a little bit sluggish, a little bit jelly, but it is still good enough to enjoy the game. I don't have any issues with that. So, it is possible to enjoy a very GPU demanding game like Alan Wake 2 with ray tracing enabled using the RTX 4070 Super. If you don't like ray tracing, then let's check what the performance will be like without any ray tracing, frame generation or DLSS. Let's go back to native 1440p and let's keep the graphics preset on high. As you can see, the 4070 Super is not enough to handle this game at native 1440p resolution without the help of DLSS and frame generation. It is still an okay experience. 49, 50 FPS, it's fine. But if you're like me and you expect your games to run consistently at 60 plus FPS for that nice and smooth, fluid experience, then you will have to use DLSS. Let's see if setting DLSS resolution upscaling to quality will be enough to bring that FPS closer to 60. And indeed, in the same location, that was the most demanding one, we are getting well above 70 FPS right now. And the gameplay is nice and smooth, the controls are responsive, this is very much enjoyable. I would definitely play this game like so. No frame generation required. Still, let's see what kind of experience we can get if we enable frame generation along with DLSS quality. Oh, above 100 FPS. Haha, this is nice. This is very nice. This means that we can get 120 FPS experience if we avoid the forest. Check this out. Indoors, 130 FPS. Outdoors, in the town, above 140 FPS, even reaching 150 and above. This is nice. Personally, I would prefer playing this game with ray tracing set to medium because it adds that extra level of realism, and in this game it is important. Reflections especially look much nicer with ray tracing enabled, because at the moment some of those reflections look quite janky.
Time to get back to work.
Now let's see if the RTX 4070 is able to deliver a similar to the 4070 Super level of experience at 1440p. With the 4070 Super, we were able to achieve a pleasant experience at native 1440p using medium graphics quality preset without DLSS or frame generation. Let's see if that can be done using the 4070. And so far so good. 80 FPS, 76. This is pleasant gameplay, well above 60, very nice. However, we haven't reached the most demanding scene in the game just yet. Moment of truth, we are entering the forest. 53 FPS, 54, 55. Yeah, this is fine. But obviously, I'd prefer if it stays close to 60 even in the worst case scenarios. Now let's see how the 4070 will do on the highest graphics preset with DLSS set to quality. In normal scenes, it's not an issue. 70 plus FPS, sometimes goes above 80, that's fine. However, once we start checking more demanding scenes, we're getting ever so close to 50 FPS. Yeah, while it's fine, but take a look at that, 48 FPS, 47. We are now below 50 FPS, and with the 4070 Super, we were staying well above 50, so that was way better. It just means that there's no way around it. We have to use frame generation as well as DLSS resolution upscaling if we want to play such a demanding game on a 1440p monitor with the highest graphics quality preset. And indeed, check it out. Now we have a similar experience to the 4070 Super, above 70 FPS in the worst case scenario. So this is fine. If you can accept using frame generation as well as resolution upscaling in the latest, most demanding games, then, you know, buy the 4070, save that $50. Although, what is another $50 when you are already spending $500? It is still very much possible to enjoy an average AAA game like Ghost of Tsushima at 1440p native with the maximum graphics quality preset, which is very high in this case. No DLSS, no frame generation required. FPS will stay above 60 at all times. Just take a look at that. 70 plus here. This is absolutely fine and beautiful performance, very enjoyable. However, with the 4070 Super, we were able to achieve that next level of performance, 120 plus FPS. So let's see if that is achievable with the 4070. We'll use DLSS quality and frame generation enabled, just like with the 4070 Super. And it appears that that is indeed the case. We're getting above 130 FPS. This is quite nice. I definitely prefer playing this game at 120-ish FPS, because when you enter a combat, it is fast-paced, and having a more fluid picture on the screen is making a big difference. Although in some scenes that FPS gets dangerously close to 120 mark. So depending on the game, the 4070 might not be enough to get that 120 FPS experience. We are back in Alan Wake 2 using the 4070 now, and let's see if it is possible to get ray tracing experience like we did with the 4070 Super. So we've got ray tracing on medium preset, graphics preset on high, frame generation enabled, and DLSS set to quality. Jumping straight into the worst case scenario, the FPS is getting close to 50. Yeah, and as a result, the controls latency is a bit higher. Performance on the 4070 Super was ever so slightly better, which is a better experience in general if you're looking to play your games with ray tracing enabled. Compromising on a better, smoother experience by saving just $50 is not something that I can get behind. Now let's see if it is possible to play this game at native 1440p, no DLSS, no frame generation, ray tracing off, graphics quality set to high. And the experience is worse. I do not like it. We're getting close to 40 FPS in the worst case scenario. So once again, with the 4070 Super, you get that little bit of extra compute performance for these kind of scenarios in games. It's just a more consistent experience with the 4070 Super, because on the 4070 you'll get dips to 40 FPS. This is not pleasant. And let's check the last scenario, DLSS quality and frame generation enabled. Graphics on high, ray tracing stays off. And this is absolutely beautiful gameplay, nice and smooth, fluid image, above 90 FPS. Yes, you can make adjustments to make your experience very good on the 4070. You'll even get the same 120 FPS experience when you are indoors, as well as in town. Yeah, this is great. Of course, these are compromises, but using DLSS frame generation and DLSS resolution upscaling is something that I do all the time on my personal PC, so I don't see a problem with it. This is a perfectly pleasant 1440p gaming experience. In conclusion, the RTX 4070 did deliver a very pleasant experience on a 1440p screen. However, I would still go for the 4070 Super. If it is around $50 more expensive in your region, it is well worth it. It gives you that extra flexibility with the graphics settings that you are using, and also you can choose to not use DLSS resolution upscaling or frame generation if you have the more powerful graphics card. Would you get the 4070 Super or the base 4070? Let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, then you can buy them on Amazon at the links in the description below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more if you haven't already. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.